slate. Talk a little bit about last night on the monster crazy slate. I was adjusting. I was working hard the whole time, trying to figure out different things to do. And then with news was coming in, I was making adjustments that felt like the correct adjustments. And yet I had another losing night, getting really frustrated. It's been a really rough few weeks, like just, after a great start, just everything sort of just nailing me. And I just feel like I can't quite get my builds right. So Sheets, you had a good night. Talk a little bit about that, and maybe I can learn something.
So we were talking about the different centers throughout the course of the day. We were talking about how we loved that Hartenstein was going to be really chalky, and we were going to pick between him, Richards, and I think it was Omar.
Yeah.
And then news came out that Jericho Sims was going to be starting, so nobody played Hartenstein. Of course, he smashed. And then I can't.
Okay, you can go ahead.
All right, one second. Hello.
So anyway, guys, so it was a really weird night. You have Muscala with 6 fantasy.
No, thank you.
Who somehow ends up in the optimal.
No, I'm back. So hold on. So I'm going to finish this off. So I'm glad I got to get rid of that. So then Omar, they announced, I guess he either wasn't starting or something. I don't know what was going on.
Yeah, he didn't start. Olenek started.
So I didn't notice that. And then the Muscala news came out that he was going to be starting. So he came out 3K and like 1,000,000% owned. And Bobby went in and said, not to play him pretty much. And he had like 2 fantasy points. Mm-hmm. So with that said, this is my alley-oop cashing lineup with the aforementioned Muscala, Omar, and Sims all in it.
It could work. This is what happens. You have to take these.
Pretty funny. Our old friend Bogdan Bogdanovic at 0.5% ownership carries the day.
Do you know who was in the lineup with the only player in the fadeaway? The guy who won the fadeaway was the only person that played Tristan Thompson in the entire tournament.
I was going to show that next.
That was just ridiculous. I mean, that was a terrible play. It just happened. Whatever.
Well, I will say that somebody, I don't want to say who, but one of the content providers, I actually don't remember which one it was talking about the game. Going, I don't know, could we have like some random Tristan Thompson night? They're like, I doubt it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think the smart money wasn't necessarily on Jared Allen to foul out in 15 minutes.
So this is what cashed. Okay, so we have Muscala with 6, we have Isaiah Joe with 14, Omar with 8. Okay, and then like just basically raw points of like Luka, Bogdan, and Halliburton, and the play you liked, it was actually chalkier than I would have liked. Barrett barely got there, so it was a weird slate to say the least.
Really got there? No, he got there pretty easily. He had 29 at the end of 3, and he ended up.
Right, what I mean is, it's not like he smashed or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but I mean, I think modern day will take 38 out of 5,800.
But this was the one. The Bogdan was the one that got me. That was the one that carried me.
Yeah, he went nuts last night. It was his
and then we will look at my FanDuel. My FanDuel monster.
Just so you're not sharing your screen, FYI.
Oh, well, you got to tell me these things.
I did. I tried to, but
all right, well, let's start all over then. Alley-oop. Which one was it? This one?
Yeah, the 50K. Sorry.
Is this the one?
Yep.
Yeah. So this was the aforementioned alley-oop. So it was. I said, look at the visual. You know what I mean? Like Muscala, Joe, Omar, like nothing but snowflakes. But somehow
that was the kind of night it was, man. It was just one of those weird nights, and you had the Halliburton and Luka together, which you crammed in the value to try and do that. And look, man, I knew it was shady value, but as we kept talking about throughout the day, until we lost, what's it called? There was no really good plays in the 5 and 6K range that made like a ton of sense. I mean, and even Bogdanovic, who was spectacular last night. What did he make? 10 threes?
40 real life points off the bench.
Yeah, he was just out of control yesterday. That was incredible. But look, it's kind of a brilliant build because you did use the low owned piece, especially just even that one. But you had and nobody was playing Doncic with Halliburton, so you had some good pieces. But I personally was not going to be the Sims Muscala guy last night. I wasn't going to fall for that. But the problem is all the stuff I fell for didn't work either.
How about this bad beat? How about Detroit +7 in my bet here?
You had them for the bet. Oh,
yeah. Detroit +7.
Just missed it. Speaking of bets, by the way, that was the only good thing before we go to your FanDuel. I won 5 out of the 6 bets last night, both NFL games, and 4 out of the 5 and 3 out of the 4 NBA ones. So I feel like at least the betting so far, that's the last week has been awesome betting wise, just really bad DFS wise for me. Anyway, we can
go 309 points, good for 13th, including a big old 8-ball from Omar in the center's position.
Yeah.
And the guy who begged me not to play, I didn't anyway, Isaiah Jackson, 16 fantasy points out of the power forward.
Oh, here, share that one.
I have to
share
with just that screen, I guess. Well, let's here it is. Yeah, so the big old 8 from Omar and the 16 from Isaiah Jackson, but the aforementioned Bogdanovic carrying the day. I got a full overtime out of Giannis to get there at 2.
Yeah, to really that was great. Giannis had 27 points, fantasy points, with like 7 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
Yep,
literally, no joke.
And then just to kind of to seal it, I got enough points out of Keegan Murray to he was like the late night hammer for me or whatever.
Yeah, and then the Bogdanovic again. You hammered the Bogdan.
Yep, the Bogdan was all over.
That was your winner right there. Yeah, the Isaiah Jackson thing didn't work as well for most people, but glad it worked out for you.
That's it. And of course, you get the big old 33 out of Fred VanVleet.
Yeah, I know. It was just not to me. Like I just couldn't get the right pieces tonight. And I think that there's one takeaway. I do think that spending up for the studs is like just seeing all the snowflakes you can have and still win. It's kind of crazy these days because it's a very different game than it was a couple years ago. You can really play like a very, very different way. But I do think you want those spend ups for those sure points, even on those bigger slates, because people keep saying, oh, is it a middling build day? The problem is they've made the middling price guys, the guys who used to be in the 5Ks are now 7K. So even then you still need value. So it's kind of just worth it to gamble on this wild value, right?
That is the sharp take of the week. Okay. Is that every time I look at my sheets or whatever, I'm like, okay, there's no good value. And all this value at like 4 or 5K is just terrible. They all project for 4X. But then when you think, okay, so what else am I going to do? I play these middling guys, but the middling values are worse.
Right.
Like the middling values are like 7K guys that are projected for 32 or something like that.
Right.
So that's why when we look earlier at the early ownership projections of these like $4,500 guys that projected only 4X, and why are they look to be so highly owned, is because you really do need them, even if they don't project all that great, because the raw points of those top guys are just add up, So and then a day like yesterday where good value did emerge and it all busted.
Right.
Then that's when it doesn't even matter, because then nothing replaced it. No middling guys smashed except for like guys that were no percent owned, like Bogdanovic, whatever.
Yeah.
And you just get Luka and Tyrese, Halliburton, whatever. Even I bet you could have even made Embiid work, considering that the center's busted, right? I mean, you probably could have made Embiid work too.
Absolutely. The one thing though that's different a little bit about your lineups than most of the other lineups in my lineup, and I want to point it out. I was not going to not play two players from Dallas on at least every lineup. Like there was no way for me that wasn't going to happen. And you kind of stayed away just from that. I just found good plays. And it was a 13-game slate. I don't need to be so pigeonholed in that. Just because 2 of them are definitely going to get there doesn't mean that that's a good enough reason necessarily to play them.
I just played Luka.
Yeah. And that's sort of a little tease for tonight, because I did a shell build and I have all but one of my players are from this first game or the Dallas game.
Yeah, let me share that. Now I'm going to share the correct screen here. We'll share this one. So listen, I know it's not everybody's sport, but I did have to make an announcement. There are a couple of announcements actually. Number one, a little least exciting, was that I'm going to have somebody on. I'm going to record with Jack Burkhart from RotoWire. He does like a lot of the soccer content for them. Like, and RotoWire is literally the only site that does anything that's worth watching on for soccer. I don't remember DFS Chan. He used to do soccer for us, and he's a big not contributor over there, but he's there a lot. And I reached out to them because I'm trying to learn more about soccer, and it's kind of lagging behind as far as content goes. There's no Sims for it yet. There's only a couple places with projections, whatever. So I reached out to Jack, who does a lot of the content there, and I asked if he would come on and talk about how to best use his tools and how to talk about DFS in general. So I'm going to have him. I'm going to record something with him on Thursday.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that we're doing that, and then more of a fun thing. And also Thursday, it's probably gonna be the live sweat day. I don't know what the schedule is like, but I know there's football, and I know that Stacy's out for the night.
There you go. That's good. Those are the two things that make it a
combination. And
I think we actually do have a good number of games on Thursday, so it's probably a good day to do it.
And the last announcement is, if you guys are interested, like hockey tonight, there's an 888 in hockey. I think this is the first time I've ever seen it.
Is it like 50K for first or something?
100K for first.
Oh, they're going for the big hockey one.
100K. They've had 100K for first before, but not an 888. I actually played a satellite for it last night. I lost by like one player or something like that. Oh. So listen, watch. I'm going to put something up for that as well. But I guess let's get into today.
Yeah, let's get into it. Because this is an interesting slate because we have a ton of news that you'll hear throughout the day because there's back-to-backs for most of these teams, but we don't know it yet, so we can't really speculate. We'll probably find out right as we get off after they do the morning shoot-arounds. So you've got Cleveland and Boston first. Why don't you let us know what you think about this one?
So first of all, with respect to the way the slate maps out, you see it's pretty violent, chop off, right? You have a 7:30, 7:30, and an 8, and then nothing until 10, and then 10:30. I just always like to get a look of how it pans out. As a matter of fact, we'll get to that late game, but I think that late game is actually playable. So we'll have to think about that. All right, so Cleveland Boston is. I kind of think I'm making a small slate smaller.
That's okay.
I don't really have too much interest in this. If I had to pick one, it would be Tatum or Jared Allen, I suppose. But I'm really not getting anybody in this game.
Yeah, Darius Garland, maybe the player of the night last night, went completely nuts at 55 fantasy points. I don't like this spot really for anybody, and we don't know. Yeah, it's still up in the air. There's some speculation that Mobley may in fact play. I don't like this play for value, but I'm just going to say, because I do think this, if you look at the winning lineup, this has been what's been proving to win. That if Mobley is out again, I don't think they're going to play Tristan Thompson much on a back-to-back. And I still think that, and it's a terrible play because he doesn't always get there anyway, but Dean Wade is going to show up as being like a reasonable value if those guys are out. Not reasonable, but just like super thin value on this slate. That's probably my most interested thing. Tatum is affordable. They all seem priced right, but it's against Cleveland, and I think Mitchell. I guess Mitchell would be the other one that I would consider, but I really don't have a lot of interest in this one, to be honest with you either. I do think the next one though is I honestly don't know how. Like it's going to depend on a lot of things, but I think this is where your money's going.
Well, I guess a rhetorical question is an actual question of like who's playing, right?
Right.
It doesn't feel like Kyrie is playing.
Kyrie, not only is Kyrie not playing, it looks like Derek Jones Jr., who's been playing 30+ minutes, is going to be out, and Hardaway is questionable, but it's with back spasms, so they're presuming him in. I'm never playing a guy with back spasms anyway, but if he's out, that just means all these other guys who look good are going to look not. They're going to look like you have to play all of them. Like Dante Exum is the one thing I did right last night. I think I had like 75% Dante Exum. Jaden Hardy is going to look like a great play, even if Hardaway plays. You've got Prosper, who's going to get minutes at 3,700. Lively at 5,600 against the Laker team that's for some reason been giving up a lot of fantasy points to centers. And then the obvious, if we can find a way to play him, which you kind of have to use players in this game, is Luka. And even on top of that, Markieff Morris and Seth Curry. Seth Curry will definitely jump back in the mix if Hardaway's out. But Markieff Morris might even jump into the mix to potentially get some minutes tonight. So there's a lot of stuff here. And I think that, it's hard to rank them this early without knowing about Hardaway. But I really think you're going to have most of your action on this game.
Yeah, that seems to be what my sheets are showing as well. It obviously depends on who's playing, but even I won't say even if Hardaway plays, but obviously if Irving and Hardaway play, then it's different. But I'm presuming Irving is out, and I'm going to presume I don't know what I'm going to presume for Hardaway right now. But I agree with you that regardless, I'm not going to play Hardaway if he's in. I don't like playing guys with back spasms either, having experienced it myself. But Hardy's going to look like a good play, as you mentioned. Exum, Lively, and Luka. I didn't even think about the other guys like the Markieff Morrises and all that stuff.
It's because of the maybe when you first looked, even they didn't know for sure, but they made him doubtful this morning. what's his name?
Derek Jones Jr.
Derek Jones Jr. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have to run those again.
But Grant Williams also may be back. So
all right.
It's going to be a little tricky to analyze this one. I just know that we're probably going to have some interest. It's weird because like Saberson has him as out and Roto Grinders has him as in, and I just don't think we know for sure what's happening with Grant Williams for sure yet.
You could probably play Luka and AD together. I'm just saying.
That's the natural thing. That was my first build, was to play Luka and AD together.
Yeah, you like AD better than LeBron today?
I see the matchup's a little bit better for him. I do think it's a good spot for LeBron, but there was a lot I could buy into with LeBron with the narrative, and he wanted to win the cup and all those things. I buy into that stuff with LeBron more than most guys. And I don't like the Luka thing and playing in Dallas. Yeah, sure, but there's also they're coming off their win thing. I definitely like. First, let me just say I like both of them, but I prefer Davis over LeBron, and I have Luka as the best spend up on the slate. For what it's worth, that was my one fear about Luka last night. His road, literally, he's so much better at home fantasy wise. And I think he also gave him a lot of bonus like benefits for some of the assists and stuff. But Luka's averaging like 70 at home, no Kyrie. The Lakers have nobody who can stop him or even come close. With the Lakers or the other place, I'm getting some value too. It's very thin, but Cam Reddish is going to play 30 plus minutes. He's going to stand in the corner. He's going to play hard defense. It's weird they turned him into like a defender. But Cam Reddish at 4,400 is a guy you should be considering because of the nature of the slate. Taurean Prince is the guy you should be considering because of the nature of the slate. And the sneaky one is Jared Vanderbilt. As I mentioned, when the Lakers play these ball dominant, heliocentric point guards, they like to use Vanderbilt to try to cover these guys. And I think that Vanderbilt, there's a reasonable chance they'll put him in for some extra minutes to try and just guard Luka. That's if Taurean Prince can't guard him in the first place. So I like the idea of getting one of Vanderbilt or Taurean Prince because I don't know who else they have other than LeBron, honestly, and I guess Reeves too to some extent. But really, they don't really have anybody who can match up with Luka at all. The Vanderbilts are probably your best hope.
What do you think of Reeves tonight?
I like Reeves, but I prefer by a long shot on the other side. I prefer Exum. So they're similar. They're same price basically, and similar positions. Exum point guard, small forward. Exum's been really good. Like if Hardaway Jr. is out again, all these ownership, like you're going to see like 4 guys in Dallas 50+% owned, and I honestly think that it's hard to argue with. But yeah, this is where you're going to get, I think, the majority of your builds, depending on what other news we get throughout the day.
I think Hardy's going to be like 65.
Yeah, maybe. I mean. The interesting thing, Cheech, he was less than 0.5% owned last night, and they played everybody. Tim Hardaway. I mean, for him to be less than 0.5% owned, and for for Seth Curry to be 61% owned or whatever he was in the 555, that's crazy. Hardy was 0.5% owned, and what's his name was Curry was 61% owned.
Jaden Hardy was less than 1% owned.
Yes.
Okay.
I know he was less than 5%. I don't know where. Actually, let me just double check before I say that, because I did play him some, but I'm pretty sure he was.
I don't understand.
He just wasn't owned. Nobody played him.
But today is going to be 50. What's changed?
He played 33 minutes. They are down another body, and he is clearly. I mean, they're clearly gonna use some of them. I'm just trying to find Hardy. It's hard to even find him in the lineup here because I had him in some of mine yesterday, but I can't search by contest like that. Yeah, he's playing more minutes, and they have less bodies, and he is their offensive guy. They're also on a back-to-back, so you could count on him to take off some of the pressure. And he dominated the minutes over Curry. They also were up a lot, and it was going well with him, so they just kind of rolled with it.
Oh, because Curry started. Okay.
Yeah. Hardy's almost, unless Luka's out, is almost never a guy who's going to start. But even Curry on a back-to-back tonight, like he only played 20 minutes, so I don't know. We'll see. He'll probably start again if Hardaway's out. All right, Denver and Chicago. What do you got here?
Well, I mean, if you want, you could play Jokic instead of Luka, which is, I imagine that Luka's going to be more popular than
by the end of the day, without a doubt.
Yeah. So I think that's reasonable. Chicago, it's not exactly the Harlem Globetrotters, though. I don't know how much that matters with Jokic necessarily, but you think that from a purity perspective, you'd want to play someone like AD. If you're judging spend ups, right? You'd want to play somebody to run back against these Dallas guys. So maybe I don't know. Again, Jokic, I have no issue with playing. I don't really have any interest in playing anybody else in this game. I guess Vooch would be my next, just because he's a center, I suppose. But that's pretty much all I have here.
Yeah, I don't think that Jamal Murray is going to play tonight. He was terrific last night, and it's a back-to-back. But he only played 28 minutes, so that almost made me think, oh, maybe they will. But I think 28 minutes is his max. He's coming off of multiple injuries. Like, I just think there's no way they're playing him here. So without Jamal Murray, the only thing that does for me is it makes Jokic a better play. Everybody else is priced up. Reggie Jackson's still priced if he was a starter. But I think Jokic is going to become a tremendous play. And maybe what you could say without Jamal Murray, maybe Christian Braun is a value piece you could use instead of some of those Lakers and other pieces. What do you have from Chicago? Anything?
I have nothing from Chicago. You know the other thing that I forgot to mention from last night's slate. Did who was in the optimal? Wembanyama.
Yep.
And also, ready for this in the fadeaway, that dude from Sacramento with the name. He got like 8 fantasy points and he was in the optimal.
Oh, Vezenkov. I think he had 5 fantasy points.
Yeah, he was in the optimal, 0.7% on. Yeah.
That's what you get when you can get away with it when you play Tristan Thompson, who literally was projected for 0 minutes.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
Chicago, I actually feel like I would like to do something. I don't know what it is. Like, I just keep pointing it out. Like, these guys are smashing every single night, and it wasn't just.
Yeah. But did you see the line score of what's his name last night of Desomnu?
That was disturbing to me because I actually played him in my big one on FanDuel. Zero fantasy points in 26 minutes.
It was the Senator Blutarski line score, 0.0.
It was, unbelievable, like just ridiculous. But as you know, look, Kobe White smashed, DeRozan smashed, Vooch even had a decent game. Well, not decent. No, he was fine, whatever. And I know they went into overtime, but even before the overtime, both White and DeRozan were smashing the whole game. I don't mind the idea. Like, it is a back-to-back for both these teams. The Bulls are kind of playing to win every game, right? Or trying to win every game. I don't mind the idea of White or DeRozan as a little bit of a different play. Not ideal to use jump shooters on a back-to-back. I mean, I don't know if I want to use Vooch against Jokic, but I thought about it. And honestly, if Andre Drummond was like 500 cheaper, I probably would say he's a great guy to take a shot on, It just, nobody's better per minute. He put up 32 last night in 14 minutes. Anyway, I want to revisit the Bulls later because I do think the Bulls have some interesting pieces. All right, Golden State Phoenix.
I imagine that, Chris Paul going back to Phoenix. I mean, that's something, I guess. But aside from that, which probably doesn't amount to too much, I don't really have much of anything in this game.
Yeah. I mean, Katie's, coming back tonight. Supposed to be coming back. If he's out again, I would say that Booker and I would take away my Laker AD and LeBron love and probably just throw it all Booker's way. I think that's honestly your biggest revenge narrative for Chris Paul is Devin Booker. I don't think he has an issue with Chris Paul, but like they played together and Booker always wanted to run the point thing. Well, if Durant is in fact out again tonight, he'll have every opportunity to do that again. He's expensive, but I think it's kind of interesting. And also you have the biggest total on the slate, or no, it's right there with the Lakers and Dallas. I think they're the same. And they're pretty close to the other one, but there's nobody getting played in this game. I think Kuminga is an interesting guy to gamble on. He put up 40 the other night. He has the ability to have these big games in fast-paced environments, and I think this is a kind of environment where he could thrive. But nothing on its face that stands out as being like a great play. Draymond probably being the most reasonable of everybody, along with Chris Paul if he plays. I'm not even sure Chris Paul plays tonight, by the way, so it's another thing to look out for. All right, Sacramento and the Clippers running it back-to-back nights. What do you got here? It's not back-to-back nights. They played Portland last night. Excuse me.
Yeah, these Clippers are randomly projecting really well today. I don't know exactly. I guess so. I guess it's in Sacramento, but all these mid-range guys like Kawhi, James Harden, Paul George, and in the center, Zubac. I mean, they're all projecting pretty nicely. So if you did want to go for a mid-range build, that's probably where you would go. One of those guys,
or both, yeah,
or both. Just want to see for my own edification if the guy I talked about yesterday actually did anything. So Norm Powell played pretty much what I thought, about 20, somewhere between 25 and 30 minutes, and sort of got there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I would. Oh boy, they moved him up to 5,200. That's no bargain here. So I don't think I would go back to that. What about Zubac here? Someone else is talking about him, so I figured I'd give this another look. But anyway, all those Clipper guys I mentioned, Harden, Kawhi, Paul George, they all look pretty good at this price range.
Yeah, I think all three of those guys are in play. Paul George will be significantly lower owned and projects very similarly. It is a back-to-back, so just keep that in mind. Kawhi played 38 minutes last night. They probably should have been able to beat Portland with everybody out a little easier. Paul George played 41 minutes. So I'm curious how things look after morning shoot-around. James Harden played 37 minutes. They are, though, in that mode where they're trying to prove that they're actually the team. So I think that they're more likely to play than they have been in years past. And they played the game so far. They've been playing the back-to-backs mostly too. Of course, if anybody's out for the Clippers, it changes things a little bit. Any of those guys, the problem is they won't put the price down on Westbrook because they're assuming that maybe one of these guys sits. But it makes the other two starters really, really viable.
Yes.
The thing that's interesting here, I could tell myself a narrative about two different things that could happen for like the lamest plays. Obviously, I think that Kawhi and Harden, I have Kawhi as like Kawhi is the guy I would spend up for because he's the guy who can get 60, who's not the superstar. You know what I mean? Right. He's not the 8K guy who caps out at 45 or something. He just put up 58 twice in a row. I like the idea of both Trey Lyles and Daniel Tice for value, just because. So you can tell yourself a story like, look, let's say Zubac gets in foul trouble and they don't want to go small. They haven't wanted to go small as much because they've wanted to give Tice minutes. And also Zubac has played really well this year, but he can get in foul trouble against Sabonis. Even just Tice's normal minutes, it's enough for me to gamble on. Then I have Trey Lyles on the other side. The Clippers, it always worries me they're going to go solid. They don't seem to. And even if Trey Lyles gets me 15 fantasy points with plenty of upside, by the way, he put up 30. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. I think that those are two really interesting, like fringy sort of value plays because we just don't have enough value to go too many other places. And I think those are two other spots you could look at. You can talk about Malik Monk.
Well, I'm just going to point out. I mean, 28 minutes, 40 fantasy points. I mean,
yeah,
he's really. You could have gotten that. Maybe you should try this again. I don't know what he was in the last couple of days, but pretty recently he was a good price to win Sixth Man of the Year. It's
yeah, you could.
I mean, it's him. It's Hardaway pretty much right now. And,
well, there's a bunch of other guys who are going to come up and look a lot better. You know who's going to be? It's going to be our Hawkes, our triple Hawkes.
You think so? You probably get a good price on him.
I think. Well, actually, he was, but then he went from like 500 to 1 to like 10 to 1 or 20 to 1, like almost instantly.
Okay.
But
yeah, he was questionable going into last night's game, so it's possible that he sits too.
Yeah, I think he'll probably.
He was illness. Okay, he was illness.
Yeah. But it's and it's just jump shooters and back-to-backs. I like Monk. I'm not going to argue with Monk at all. But I didn't get there myself. I do think he's going to have some ownership for what it's worth, but I think he's a reasonable play. I like the idea of this. Like if you can find a way, if we had enough value, I think that getting in like Kawhi, Luka, and Anthony Davis is like three guys I would try to get in. Just because it makes the most sense. And it's funny, I also want to point out that all of our talk about all these centers and double centers being the way to go, in the things that won a lot of the tournaments did not have the double center builds. And even if they used a center, they had guys who were forward eligible in the center spot. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, so it's hard to get out of a certain way of thinking, even though it's probably the right way to think yesterday. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to win you everything. I mean, there's variance here.
Well, they all busted, right? Between Richards, Omar, and the other one, and Sims, they all busted.
And Muscala.
And yeah, right. And Muscala.
They really did all bust. I mean, it was a vicious bust. And then Hartenstein, of course, smashed, and that's the way it goes. Like
It goes.
It was. I should have done a better job. I didn't play Sims. I didn't play Muscala. I gave myself credit for that, but I could have easily played. I had Hartenstein in both my big buy-ins, and I took him out of both of them. That was stupid.
That would have cashed for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All right. So we'll be live at 6:30 tonight.
6:30 tonight. That's right.
All right. So let's get some money down. Things going in the right direction again. Getting ready for the big 888 tomorrow. Let's head in the right direction.
Oh wait, it's the 888 tomorrow. You know what I might do? I might try to play some satellites for that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them running.
And the other thing is that there's another thing about tomorrow. Oh, so we'll do probably an NFL preview tomorrow. That seems like a better plan instead of Tuesday.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah, at least give us something to go on, right?
Yeah, for sure. All right, buddy. Well, good luck today, and we'll see you guys.